Coming up next, the year in review. Not Happy New Year yet. Happy New Year's coming, though. Welcome to the Bookening. Welcome to our final episode of the year 2017. And what a 2017 it's been. And we're going to be looking back on 2017 today, doing our, we call it the Redux. Hey, standing outside the door. He's coming in late, and he's carrying...
Party favors.
A bag of restaurant-style tortilla chips.
Food.
And he's got a thing of picante salsa. It's the pastor who's a master of reading. I thought we'd at least introduce me, your humble and obedient host, and Brandon, your... Oh, there he goes. He's leaving. He's had enough of our nonsense already. He's just walking out the door. Okay, well, there went Jake.
Come back, Jake.
Well, I can talk to you for a second.
Don't leave me.
Don't leave me. It's Brandon Chastain.
Hey.
The scholar who's a baller of reading. How you doing, Brandon?
Doing great, Nathan.
You excited to watch Jake come back and maybe eat his chips?
I am really looking forward to it.
I am too. There's nothing that people like. There's nothing that I like better than to watch someone eat chips. And there's nothing that people like better, I think, than to hear someone eat chips.
Into Mike.
No. So Jake will be providing both services today. I guess we started. We're running a tight ship, right, Brandon?
Yes.
We're running a tight ship today.
My fault.
Your fault. You got to get down to see your family for the Christmas holidays.
Got to.
It only comes once a year, man.
Yep. One time too few.
One time too few?
I was going to say too many, but then, you know.
So you wish Christmas came twice a year?
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Because you're that much of a who down in Whoville who
That's
like
right.
Christmas, as I recall, a lot.
Yeah. Roast beef?
Roast beef.
Beast. Roast beast.
You don't even know what kind of roast beef. Brandon, I think the dirty secret that we're learning today, folks, is Brandon hates Christmas.
I do.
Because he wanted to say that it's one time too many.
I did.
Jake, come back. Now, Brandon, we haven't done an episode, just the two of us, since...
Faulkner.
Since Faulkner, everybody's favorite. Was that this year? Did I put that on the board? Yeah, I did.
Yeah. I don't know what... Those were good. Those were fine episodes.
Those are good episodes. I like those episodes. It's always nice to have the pastor who's a master of reading here. And
we feel his absence.
Yeah, we feel his absence. We're feeling it right now. What'd you think about Star Wars? You see Star Wars yet?
I saw Star Wars.
How'd you like the Star Wars?
I liked Star Wars, Nathan.
Oh, yeah? You like the death of a film franchise? You enjoy seeing someone just kick a childhood favorite into the ground? And
yeah, I loved it.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of liked it too.
Yeah.
No, I enjoyed the Star Wars. I thought it was, I don't know.
Well,
it was very feminist.
Okay.
You don't agree?
It was very feminist, but weren't strong female leads always in Star Wars? Wasn't that a part of the gimmick?
Well, here's the thing. Star Wars has always been both feminist and morally relativistic. At least that's what Star Wars has always... Hey, it's the pastor who's a master of reading right there. Hey, Jake.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast. We started.
I noticed.
I'm in character.
We've just started.
I noticed.
And Jake, he's got his picante salsa and his bag of chips. Quite the quietest food he's elected to eat.
This is my dinner.
This is his dinner. That's okay. We understand. Jake's a busy man. Brandon's a busy man. He's got to make it to his Christmas gathering. So Star Wars. We were just talking about Star Wars, Jake. Welcome. He's the pastor. He's a master of reading. He's got the boots. He's got the jeans. We do our regular, every week, we like to do a Jake outfit check. And today we can say he looks exactly, probably like he did last time. I've described this outfit more than once. He's got the jeans. He's got the boots. He's got the pullover.
Generally, in winter, I'm wearing jeans boots of some kind and some kind of pullover over a collared shirt.
They're snazzy wearing boots, though. They're not just...
They're not work.
Yeah, dirty
mud boots.
You don't have to... I wouldn't want people to imagine you wearing galoshes or something ridiculous like that. That is
like
not
Tom Bombadil.
Anyway, folks, what's happening today? We are going to do our redux. We're going to talk about the whole year in review. We're going to look back. We're going to decide what the best book was, what the worst book was, what the best characters, all that kind of stuff. But Jake's got to eat his chips, so I'm just going to be talking to Brandon about Star Wars for a minute. So Star Wars, it's always been ostensibly feminist, and Brendan has a look on his face like he's just really excited to hear my
so excited
long-form description of Star Wars, the nuances of the meaning of Star Wars. Star Wars has always been ostensibly, Brandon. Ostensibly. Egalitarian, both egalitarian, morally relativistic, and feminist. However, Star Wars has always traditionally been better than its stated philosophies. So, for example, Princess Leia, she's a feminist babe. She grabs the gun, she shoots but she basically fulfills the traditional feminine role within the larger framework of the story. She's got the will they won't they with Han Solo, and she gets rescued when she needs to. She puts on the metal bikini, whatever she needs to do.
Whatever she needs to do. She actually does fulfill the traditional roles of a princess. She's even called a princess in the movie. She just also has a blaster and she shoots guys and stuff like that. Same thing with the moral relativism. They talk about point of view and they say all these morally relativistic things, but at the end of the day, you got a big scary bad guy who laughs as he shoots people with his lightning, and you've got evil Nazis, and you've got good guys. It's really not that morally relativistic. They just say some morally relativistic nonsense. The problem with this new Star Wars is that they've actually started to believe, they started to practice what they preach. And nobody ever wanted that to happen. No.
They started to make all the, I don't know.
They actually started to embrace the Star Wars theology?
Yeah, they started to break. Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Well, it's not a surprise. It's not that much of a surprise. Jake predicted the whole movie, second time in a row, folks. Not in a row. I don't know that he predicted Rogue One. I don't know what there was to predict about Rogue One. He probably did.
He already knew the plot of Rogue One.
Yeah, Rogue One.
We all predicted the plot of Rogue One.
But
I didn't mean to. I tried really hard not to. Last time we meant to.
Mm-hmm. Did you really predict the plot of this one?
It wasn't as clean as Force Awakens, where we went. Now, the Force Awakens, Nathan and I did it together. We just walked through it step by step,
just to be jerks, and then we felt bad, and the movie was somewhat diminished. But I think we've even talked about this on the Bookening. We even said Kylo Ren, who is Han's son, they will probably be standing over something,
over a chasm,
and he will have his lightsaber out, and it will be turned off, and then he will turn it on. It will go. We called the whole thing.
Wow.
Because we knew they had business interests. They had to.
It was just the right factors,
Yeah.
How do you?
Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams rebooting the Star Wars franchise, all that stuff, and why do you pick a guy like J.J. Abrams to do it, and what's he going to do? And you knew it was just going to be a New Hope rehash, and you knew who the characters you were dealing with were because of trailers and promotional material and whatnot, and so then it sort of fell off the page. This wasn't quite like that. This was just more like main plot points. Right.
And the way that you did it was through a ridiculous bit of brain work that I still don't buy. The steps that the steps that you used to get there, I still don't buy that those were the correct steps, but maybe they were, because you certainly got to the right place, and you made me really mad. Because Jake basically predicted all the things in the movie, and I was like, no, they can't do that. If they do that, it'll suck.
Spoilers.
All right, folks, we're going to talk spoilers for a second, and we will get to the year redux, but Jake has a few more chips to eat, and Brandon wants to defend his point of view. He loves feminism. He hates the patriarchy. He likes to see morally relativistic nonsense. He hates it when heroes act like heroes. So he's going to defend that point of view. At the end of this, so we're going to talk spoilers, and then at the end of the spoilers, I'll make a noise. So when you're hitting your 15 button, you'll hear me go, oh! When I do like that, that means you can stop hitting 15 forward. The spoilers are done. All right, we're doing spoilers. Okay, so Jake calls pretty much the whole movie. The one thing that Jake says
I don't know. Do you want to take him through it? Give us like the 3-sentence. Jake's chewing his chips is wonderful. He's got some restaurant style tortillas right there. Clancy brand, the best off-brand chips that you'll ever eat.
The very best off-brand
that
chips.
make the best off-brand Cheetos. I think they use like blue cheese or something in them. Wonderful. Are those Aldi brand? I don't know where
Aldi
does one
brand,
get
that's
Clancy.
right.
Yeah, Clancy Aldi brand, the best off-brand chips. He's got a truly kind of a terrible salsa to go along with it, I'd say.
Yeah, it's a terrible salsa.
But
cheap pace picante.
I say passe. Amigo. Passe.
So I started with 2 premises. One, given to us, that on seeing this film, the story team and the powers that be decided to give Rian Johnson his own trilogy.
So that I agree with that premise completely. I know that is a true thing that's happened. All the trades have said it.
Premise number 2, Rey is not a Skywalker.
But where did you get that premise from?
I assumed it. I just decided it.
But why did you decide it?
I don't remember.
You decided it because you decided that the new trilogy, if Rian Johnson's given his own trilogy, it must be because it's either about Rey or it's about something that's
connected to Rey.
Connected to how Rey has influenced the universe. I still hold that that's false.
That the new trilogy is connected to Rey in any way.
Well, for one thing, as we learned in this movie, Rey's not that important. She's just another Jedi. She's not bringing any kind of particular balance to the Force. Nobody.
It doesn't mean that she's not that important to the story or to the future of the franchise. It just means that she doesn't come from anywhere special. Maybe, unless Abrams retcons that.
But she also doesn't have any particular new skills or insights, or she's just, at best, another Jedi Master, as far as we know.
Yeah, no. She's not another Jedi Master. She's the only Jedi Master, the only one who's connected to the original Jedi Masters through Luke and through the text that she stole.
Luke, who she got absolutely no training. Yeah, I guess she has those stupid books, but she's not going to find anything interesting in those books. Nothing's ever going to change, folks. Nothing's ever going to change. They've shown. There's Brandon. He's making a noise like he disagrees. Brandon, the floor is yours.
I'd have to care.
You'd have to care. I think that's true.
Is it?
I think that's
well,
a
just
good
to the
argument.
point about her not being trained.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't the point that he's kind of like the Beethoven and she's kind of like the Mozart of the Jedi? Those other little Jedis had to be trained, and there will be other Jedis who have to be trained, but they just have particularly strong connection to the Force.
That little boy with the... When are they going to retcon midi-chlorians, by the way?
Yeah, so I've heard this complaint from a lot of people that this is doing away with the whole master, teacher, student dynamic of Star Wars, and I just don't think we've seen that yet.
I don't care. The only problem...
Just because of Rey. I don't think just because she happens to be like a genius Jedi
right.
means that they're doing away with the whole need for a teacher.
I have a couple...
Darkness rises and the light rises up to meet it.
Yeah, so you have a strong dark force and you have a strong light force. And as silly as that is their justification for that
right, and that's,
particular move.
That goes back to the Anakin days of the prequels.
Yoda shows up to teach Luke again, because Luke in...
Using a facade of a character that he played once when Luke... He wanted to test Luke, so he pretended to be a crazy old guy, and now he's acting like that again for some reason.
He reminded me of Rafiki from The Lion King.
Yeah, which is fun, but it's not actually the Yoda.
It's in the past.
It's in the past. It doesn't matter. That's not actually the Yoda that we know, even from the Holy Trilogy, the original trilogy. That we don't actually. That's not the Yoda that we actually get to know. Once we get to know Yoda, he's a pretty serious dude. But whatever.
And we watched The Empire Strikes Back again, just so I could try and figure out what was going on, why people were making a big deal about this. And Luke was always kind of a, what's the word?
Bad student.
Yeah, he was a bad student, but he was also kind of a whiny non-hero. Han was the hero.
Luke was just a petulant farm boy.
Yeah, and then he shows up at the end, and he's always kind of going to the dark side, and the Emperor picks up on that, and then his dad saves him.
Right.
And the whole father-son dynamic, it's there, but it's not really there.
I'll give you that the Luke...
You kind of retcon the father-son dynamic into it.
No, it's not. Yeah, I agree.
So I don't know, everything that people are like saying is lost in the original Star Wars, I think is lost because we've nostalgically kind of put that haze over the original Star Wars.
Yes, but I didn't. I did put a nostalgic
And
haze
that's
over
fine.
it. And they should have. They ruined my nostalgic haze, Brandon.
I have sympathy for that.
They
I have
ruined
sympathy
my-
for our friend who also feels the same way as you.
sympathy for who's my friend, Jake?
No, Ben.
Oh, Ben. Yes, our actual friend. Yeah, well, no, no. I mean, Jake's my friend. I didn't mean it that way. I don't know how other way you could interpret it.
So I have
That's not what
sympathy for
meant.
people who feel like something from their childhood is dying.
Yeah.
I do feel sympathy for that. I don't feel sympathy for reading things into the original that were never there and then saying that the new movie is bad because it's killing things that never really were.
In the original, Luke faced his father. Luke grew into a dude. He was a Jedi Master and a wise man by the end of those movies. In Star Wars terms, I understand it wasn't real biblical godliness or anything, but in terms of the mythological arc that he went on, Luke ended having achieved some kind of wisdom, some kind of understanding of his place in the universe. And then suddenly he's lost all that in this movie. And I don't even mind that. What I mind is that we get to the end of the movie and it turns out that Luke hasn't even left his planet. He's sitting there doing a Zen thing.
I had problems with that too.
There's nothing particularly heroic. We don't ever get to, after waiting, 30 years, we don't get to actually see Luke Skywalker, the awesome Jedi Master. We never...
You're supposed to believe that the whole astral projection thing is awesome.
Yeah,
Jedi
that's what I was
Master
going to
stuff.
say.
Like nobody, it's something we've never seen before.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm supposed to tear up when I realize it's influenced the whole galaxy. It was the spark that lit the revolution.
So what you were supposed to think is Luke has been closing himself off to the Force. And finally, he's opened himself so much to the Force that it kills him.
Right.
So that he can save everyone else.
Yeah.
And that's the emotional
which is
moment.
a nice
and
idea, but
I grant you that it didn't pay off that well, but I don't think it's necessarily. I don't think Rian Johnson was saying
The only thing he was trying to do was be sure Luke went out on his own terms, right?
exactly.
which they did,
Like he needed-
which I liked. I'm glad that Luke didn't get distracted.
Look,
and then
it was an attempt at it. It's maybe the one creative thing about the movie, is an attempt at a creative way to let Luke go out on his own terms while doing something Force awesome.
yeah.
but I just,
From that perspective, no, I'm not saying I liked it either, but
I wanted it to make me feel Force awesome. Like I sat in an IMAX theater with Star Wars nerds. Half of them were dressed up, ladies in white gowns with buns on their hair, and just like the whole gamut. Jedi Masters, people waving lightsabers around. The Empire, whatever they're called, what are the bad guys called? in this one? The First Order. They've trained all their guns on Luke. They fire 1,000 lasers. He steps out of that cloud and flicks the thing off of his shoulder. The whole audience cheers. And so then you expect them to build on that moment and give us, finally, after waiting for it, the whole movie, the payoff where he does something really cool. And instead, he just does this Zen trick Jedi thing, which I guess makes sense because Jedi have always been Zen tricksters. But I don't know. It's like I said early on, I think Star Wars has always been better than its philosophy. And this felt philosophically of a piece with what Star Wars says about itself, but it didn't feel like what Star Wars has traditionally done. Traditionally, the Jedis are these lame Zen pacifists, but they're always going to give us an awesome action scene because they know that's what we want as an audience, and that's what I wanted. And instead, we get this thing. Yeah. And the whole lot, it didn't get that much applause at the end. Like the big applause moment was Luke steps out of the cloud, and then you have a big rush of anticipatory applause, like what's going to happen now. And then I think a lot of people, I felt the theater deflate after that. And I get that that's like a twist on your expectations, but it's the kind of twist on your expectations I don't like. It's instead of doing something cool, we tricked your expectations and did something that wasn't cool.
Yeah. It took a risk and it didn't pay off. But,
yeah.
It also is going with the theme I think the movie had of illusion and what you think is something real is not actually something that's real.
Right.
So with
the casino looks like
with
a nice
them
place,
seeing
but
one
it's really
another,
a bunch of vicious people.
And then Kylo and whatever, Rey
Kylo
being
and
able to
Rey's
see one
little
another,
Force connection thing,
which I think is going to play towards themes that are going to come up in the third movie, where we're going to find out a lot of stuff we thought was true was not true in good J.J. Abrams fashion.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe she'll... I actually like the idea that her parents are nobodies. I think that's great. I think that's interesting.
I think that's going to stay.
And I hope that stays. I think it'd be lame if, actually, it was, you call Obi-Wan a nobody?
I think if there are any surprises to come, it has to do with Snoke and whoever's behind the...
I would love that. Well, what I told Jake, what made me mad about Jake's predictions, Jake predicted inaccurately that Luke Skywalker would do something awesome
after moping the whole movie. Jake predicted the whole movie, only Jake gave us the obvious good ending instead of the weird ending that they went with.
They tried to do what I said. I mean,
yeah, they did a version. They just did, I think, in my estimation, a terrible version of what you said they'd do.
Yeah.
But you said Jake would, or you said Luke would like fight the Knights of, he'd do something just like.
Yeah, I thought that they would give us Luke shows up to save Rey.
He sacrifices himself, obviously.
And, I knew that Kylo would have to kill Snoke.
Right.
And probably kill Snoke to save Rey. I thought maybe Luke would kill Snoke. If Luke killed Snoke, it would be a very quick sort of like bam, bam, done, and kind of funny, like
right.
Thing. But yeah, what I kept trying to come up with was like Luke has to fight the Knights of Ren, and we get sort of like 10-on-1 samurai battle kind of thing. What they ended up trying to give us in Rey and Kylo Ren versus the Guard,
which everyone thinks that scene is so cool, and it's just like maybe
I thought that fight scene would be maybe Luke's fight scene,
right?
The fight scene with Kylo and Rey? Right?
Yeah, everybody just thinks it's so cool.
It's a pretty good fight.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I don't know. It would be cooler if I cared about either one of those people.
Oh,
I don't know. I like the idea of Kylo Ren not being a bad guy. It felt to me like at every place where they could do something interesting, they just defied your expectations by doing something lame instead. And the big part that when Jake told me the plot and laid it out and predicted it correctly, he said Snoke's got to go and we've got to clear the table for Rey versus Ren. And it still makes me mad. I just think that's the wrong choice. It's like, let's clear the table for the two least interesting characters to have a mano-a-mano. I mean, who cares?
Well, what they were going to try to do, and what I think they did try unsuccessfully to do, was make them complicated and interesting. What you have in the genius of Empire was Empire didn't have to carry the weight of solving anything or setting the table. It just had to carry the weight of getting you more emotionally invested in the characters.
Right.
And so that they go all across their separate ways and they develop and they maybe learn some things and then the table's set for the final showdown, and that has to deliver your catharsis. And so I thought that they were going to give us Rey and Ren struggling with their weakness and with dark and light and with disappointment in Snoke, disappointment in Luke, and we're going to lose both Snoke and Rey, and at the end we were going to have Ren firmly planted on Team Dark Side and Rey firmly planted on Team Light Side.
Lose both Snoke and Luke, you mean?
What did I say?
You said Snoke and Rey.
Oh yeah, I meant lose both Snoke and Luke. But with some like some vulnerabilities that they could play with.
And that's what they did, and it was the worst.
Yeah. They didn't do it effectively enough that I care.
Here's the thing. I really enjoyed the movie. I liked watching the movie. It was a fun experience. Felt like Star Wars. It was great. But I'm not looking forward to the next one because who cares? Everyone that I ever cared about is dead. And what is there to care about? There's nothing that needs to be solved. There's no mystery.
The Skywalker saga has to close.
There's no cliffhanger.
It has to close in a cathartic way, which means they're going to have to do some crazy work to make Kylo Ren be the one who closes out that saga for us.
Yeah, I guess so. But who cares?
Well,
I was disappointed by it, folks. I'm sure everyone will say I'm just being a grouch. But
I have no idea what they're going to do with Leia, unless what I've been thinking is that they're going to shoot us forward in time. Episodes 7 and 8 were like right on top of each other.
Yeah, that would be the smart thing to do.
And
actually.
Yeah, I'm imagining them shooting us forward maybe 10 years. I don't know.
They've almost got to do that because what you're left with, and this is why Jake said they're going to kill Snoke, and I was like, you can't kill Snoke because it's got to be good versus evil, which means you have to have a satanic dude. You can't just have emo Kylo Ren, and if you kill Snoke, there is nobody that represents pure evil. Kylo Ren's already kind of been back and forth enough and sympathetic enough. I don't care what he does. I don't care if he sticks a lightsaber into Luke Skywalker. He just still feels too weak for it to be a true battle of good versus evil. And I still feel that way. I mean, who cares about Hux? Who cares about Phasma, whether she lived or died?
Well, so that's why I think...
So yeah, you give it 10, 20 years so that Ren can have achieved some stature and
then he's an Emperor style. We get to see what an evil Skywalker running the galaxy actually looks like. And we give all of our TV showrunners and cartoon showrunners and book writers 20 years to play with in terms of building out the story and developing the story that led to the point. But what we've finally seen is the development of a satanic, pure evil character.
Yeah.
Palpatine had to turn somehow, some way or another. He wasn't probably wasn't born pure evil, right? But
we got to see it, right?
Now we get to see it. Maybe. I don't know.
I'm saying in the original 3.
We did?
No, man,
Well,
he was pure evil
before
from
he
the
got
beginning.
electrocuted.
Yeah, when he said, raw, untamable power. I never could figure it out whether...
Do it. Do it.
Was his face... This is something I've always wondered about the prequel trilogy. Maybe Jake knows, because he watches some of the cartoons and stuff with his kids. Was Palpatine's face revealed to be what it always was in that showdown with purple guy?
I don't know any Mace Windu.
Mace Windu? Or
I don't know any more than you do. I've just always believed that he just allowed it to get melted to pieces.
Because he just doesn't care anymore.
He doesn't care anymore.
Yeah.
And he had one goal, and that one goal was to win Anakin Skywalker and make Anakin pity him.
Can I say something real fast, though? I've seen some of these debates on Facebook going on, and I want to kind of put my 2 cents in here.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry if you guys like these movies, but my kids recently watched the first 3, and they're pretty mind-numbingly bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's any way that they're as good as any like of the original 3 or these new 2.
No,
They're not even good movies. They're just...
Here's what I would say. They're terrible.
They're bad.
They're really bad.
They're like
They're
there's-
almost unwatchable.
I think people who are saying that they like those better are just trying to make a point, and you got to stop that because those movies are bad.
No, I agree. What I will give George Lucas, what I will take away from George Lucas is the idea that he should ever film another movie or direct another movie again. Write one. He had obviously given up on wanting to put the effort into actually making a movie by the time those prequels came around. He wanted to just sit and sip coffee while people ran around in a green screen, and he didn't have anybody else bother writing a good script for him. Those movies are terrible. But what I will give George Lucas is that he was always trying to do something interesting, and nobody liked the interesting stuff he did. But those movies gave us the Sith, the Jedi Council. They gave us a lot of interesting world building that I actually like, and I'm sorry to see these new movies not build on.
It's like half the point of the whole casino scene is to... I mean, so much of the new movie was to almost retcon out the first 3, the prequels.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing about Canto Bight that reminded you of the worlds that Lucas established in the prequels, and that was actually kind of cool stuff. You know, the movies didn't work, but man, there were a lot of, as Nathan likes to say, he gave people a lot of cool toys to tell stories, to tell actual good stories in.
Yeah, I thought he
like
built
that.
an interesting sandbox, and now they only want to play in the one little corner of it where the original movies existed, and I think that's too bad.
I like that cartoon series, The Clone Wars,
Yeah,
which is 1,000 times better than the second movie, which...
it's better than all the prequels.
Yeah, that second movie, though, literally makes no sense. I still don't know what it's about.
Yeah, the Clone...
It's so bad.
The Clone Wars cartoon, which I only got into because of my kids. I started watching it with them, but I like it.
It's good.
Yeah, it's better than the prequels.
It's
It-
legitimately good.
yeah.
But that second, it may be one of the most nonsensical movies I've ever seen.
Well, he doesn't like sand. I remember that. And he
You tell me what it's about, and
rides around on a giant tick. Well, George Lucas had just given up on... What I think
happens.
is George Lucas wrote like the Wikipedia entry, basically. He wrote this big outline of how he wanted stuff to go down, and it was all fine. The next step would be to hire a good screenwriter who can write some decent dialogue and help build the structure of the actual narrative and everything. And he just like skipped that step. And it's too bad because I actually think everything about those movies to me is actually more interesting than just about any other Star Wars that happened. I mean, the fall of Anakin, the corruption of the Senate, the Jedi Council ultimately being dumb and old and stupid and in the way and wrong. All those kinds of things are really interesting, and all those kinds of characters have the potential. Like, I almost wish that somebody could go back and do those prequel stories right, because I just think the material is there to tell a great epic tragedy. And I think George Lucas even had the right way to do it, the right ideas.
yeah,
But the execution is just
The Revenge of
awful.
the Sith is not awful.
Yeah, it's the best of the 3, but
Yeah.
it's still pretty clunky.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised either if Disney tries to reach.
It's better
Tell
if
it.
you've watched the cartoon before you've seen it.
Yeah, I could see that.
Well, we're wildly off track, fellas. We still got a Redux to get through.
Star Wars.
Star Wars, hashtag Star Wars. What noise did I say I was going to make? If you've been someone's been diligently 1540. Oh,
spoilers over. Do it.
Do it.
All right, guys, let's do some donor shout-outs. Donor shout-outs. One moment while I log into my donor shout-out tutorium here. The Bookening is a book club produced by Christians.
What?
That's what it says right here.
Are we?
Yeah. All right, you ready to do some Star Wars related donor shout-outs, Brandon?
Do it.
Jake's just watching this happen.
Okay. All right. Let's do it for... let's see here. We need Star Wars related. Let's do it for... we'll do with our new one first.
Okay.
Jedi, Jenny Z.
Jedi, Jenny Z.
All right. Sounds like a rapper. Thank you, Jenny. Thanks for supporting us. Jenny's new to the Bookening.
Straight out of Compton.
Straight reward tier. So, Jenny Z. Say hi to Jenny Z, Jake.
Hi, Jenny.
Say thanks to Jenny Z.
Thank you, Jenny.
And all right. Welcome aboard, Jenny. Welcome to the greatest Christian literature podcast patron experience of your life. Next, let's go with, I don't know what a Star Wars related thing would be.
For who?
Kylo, Robert, and Rhonda.
Kylo, Robert, and Rhonda.
The lovebirds.
The lovebirds.
Jedi John and Jedi Jill.
Jedi John and Jedi Jill.
With Jedi Master Max.
With Jedi Master Max.
And let's see. B. What's a Star Wars related B word?
Ben.
Ben?
Kenobi.
Oh, yes.
Or Ben Solo.
Yeah, well, we'll go with
Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
I guess Beth Kenobi?
Beth Kenobi.
Yay! Star Wars related shout outs.
Yeah.
Let's see, what's an M word from Star Wars?
Master Luke.
Okay, yeah, we'll just, unless you have a good one, better one. Jedi Master Maya.
Jedi. Sorry, okay there.
Yeah.
Jedi Master Maya.
Jedi Master Maya. And we've got Jedi Jay and Katie, the lovebirds.
Nobody can see your hands. Jedi Jay and Katie, who are cold and love cheese.
Who are cold and love cheese.
Yeah. Who are cold and love cheese.
A scruffier looking pair of Nerf herders. Never I. No, they're not scruffy looking. I mean, maybe they are. I don't know. I've never seen them.
Maybe their skin is like sand.
Maybe they're still. Let's hope not.
I don't like sand.
No.
But we like them. Yeah. No.
Now, you guys are both married. When you were dating your respective ladies, did you compare their appearance positively to, or the feel of their skin to the properties of sand?
It was no. I never contrasted my any girl's skin with sand.
Your skin is like sand. I like sand.
So rough and coarse, not like you.
Is that really what he says? It can't
Pretty
be that
sure.
bad.
Oh, it's pretty bad.
It's that may be a direct quote.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, he's got a lady. He got that, what's her name? Padme.
Yeah, he got her.
So he must have known what he was doing, I guess.
Yep.
She's the queen of Naboo, for crying out loud. An elected position, I do believe.
I'm going to look this up.
Oh, we got, is that it? No. We've got,
We're missing Professor Sith Lord.
yes.
Sith Lord X.
Sith Lord X.
Sith Lord X.
X.
X. Sith Lord.
I don't like sand. It's coarse,
Course.
rough, and irritating.
Rough.
And it gets everywhere. Not like here.
It's fantastic.
Everything is soft and smooth.
Oh, it's embarrassing. Now, here's my contention, guys.
That's writing 101. I have a contention.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. You're
When we read our stuff, there'll be nothing as bad as that.
No. my contention, two contentions. The contention number one, you should surround yourself with people that tell you the truth, which is obviously what George Lucas did not do, because no one just said, George, no, we can't film this. You can't expect. But here's my actual contention. My contention is that, what's his name? The guy that plays Anakin? Hayden Christensen. everyone just like always dumps all over him like he's the worst actor in the world. My contention is we have no idea whether he's a bad actor or a good actor. He might be great. All we know is that he can't take that garbage and redeem it. But you know who else comes off really stiff and wooden in those movies is somebody we know is a good actor, which is Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson is terrible in those movies. He's pretty bad. The only people that really come out of those movies okay would be
Ewan McGregor,
the guy that plays Palpatine. He's just always having a blast. Gotta love Palpatine.
Frank Oz
comes out okay. I don't know quite how Ewan McGregor does it because he has some of the clunkier exposition, but he
has a British accent.
He has a British accent. It really helps.
And he just looks like he's making fun of it all the time.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's the thing that British people know how to do that Americans can't do as well, I think, is British people can always play sideways to the material and just give you a hint that they're having fun at the material's expense. That's what Palpatine is clearly just, I mean, he's just like... Well, here's my favorite line when Yoda comes into his office and he's like, "My little green friend." It's like you can either be embarrassed by that or you can just have a sense of humor about yourself and just go for it and see if you can pull off "my little green friend." Like, that's a great challenge for an actor. How do you say "my little green friend" and not look like an idiot? And he does it. So poor Hayden Christensen. He didn't have the talent to just like do that, to just take something terrible and make it great. But
He was so young too.
Yeah, he may have had talent. You know, poor Jake Lloyd is, I think, in later years come out and said that Star Wars basically ruined his life. And blah,
yeah, he
blah,
was
blah.
made fun of for that.
Oh yeah, sure, of course he was. It's work.
Yippee!
All right, folks. This is one of these end of the year episodes. So
let's do it.
All right, Redux, guys. We're going to go through these categories real quick. We're on a tight schedule, although you wouldn't know it from the 40 minutes of Star Wars talk that just happened.
Scott,
Did we even finish? We didn't even...
Star Wars episode.
I'm sorry. I'm such a bad host. We didn't even finish donor shoutouts. You got Eric and...
Catherine?
Oh, I need a Star Wars name.
Eric and
Maz... Kanathren.
Eric and Maz Kanathren.
See, are you a great British actor that can take that terrible line of dialogue that I gave you, Eric and Maz Kanathren, and make it awesome, Brandon? Or are you a terrible American that's going to look like an idiot having to say something dumb that I can't put in your mouth?
Eric and Maz Kanathren, the lovebirds.
Yeah, awesome. What's your name? Brandon. He's like Ian McDermott.
Brandon.
That's the name of the Emperor?
I'm like the evil Emperor. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's my favorite line, if you can't tell.
That's a great line. I don't know if it's up there.
We'll randomly say that at work sometimes. Should I go and get the book?
Is that what he says before he decapitates poor Christopher Lee there?
I think it's...
He does say it there, but he comes back to it.
Does he say it more than once?
I'm pretty sure he does.
I think it's what he says when Samuel L. Jackson's about to die, right?
Does he?
Maybe.
I thought he said... Power! Ultimate power!
Unlimited, I think.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's gonna...
Maybe it's when he's trying to talk him into killing the younglings.
The poor younglings. Oh, boy. From the mouths of babes, as Yoda says.
We got a phone.
Yeah, you sure do.
Yeah, do it.
My little green friend.
Forgot we had a...
It's definitely...
when he decapitates him.
When he decapitates...
I have waited a long time for this moment. My little green friend.
Oh, I love the Emperor. He just is a man that loves his job, that Emperor. He's always having a blast. He loves to go to work. He's been waiting for that.
I like that they retconned that Emperor into Emperor Strikes Back.
Oh, yeah, that like if you watch the Blu-rays now, you see that guy. And
yeah, I like his Emperor.
Okay, I'm going to make...
Who played him in the original?
Just some dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm going to say something unpopular, which is I'm in my early 30s. I basically grew up with the special editions. I mean, I had a VHS of the non-special editions that I wore out, but then I wore out some VHSs of the special editions. They're basically what I remember. I saw them all in the theater.
Yeah.
I would be sad if Disney got rid of them. They're kind of what I'm nostalgic for as much as anything. Sorry. I remember a time everyone likes to pretend like they're better than the special editions, and I get it. But I remember a time when we were all excited for the special editions and we wanted to go see them. And every time the new computer generated stuff came out, everyone would go, ooh. And it's stupid that Han doesn't shoot first, but I don't know. They're kind of fun.
Well, there are three things that I could do away with I'm with you for the most part. I could do away without the scene with Jabba, because it just looks fake.
Yeah, where he steps on his tail. That's pretty
I could
bad.
do without the scene where they change the song,
Yep.
because that's just awful.
The ending.
They should have kept the old song.
Yeah.
No, it's inside the cantina, right?
They changed the song in the cantina, and then they changed the ending song.
And also, yeah. And so, and I sing in Jabba's, they changed some of the music, which is just not.
Yeah, you don't do that.
And then I don't like that they should have just left the old Ghost. Why they have to go back to Hayden Christensen?
That was a little weird. And Han shooting first, obviously.
Because everybody else is old.
Yeah.
So
I even kind of understand wanting to make Han. I get it. He's a space pirate. He shoots first, but I think one of the real problems with him not shooting first is just that the weird special effect to make like Harrison Ford suddenly go to the side or whatever, and the late Greedo to miss at point blank range was pretty lame. But whatever. I kind of like the special editions, so you can throw out pretty much everything that I said about Star Wars as being junk. But listen, if you're a true Star Wars fan, I've said this many times, if you're as a true Star Wars fan, you're only allowed to like what? 1.5 movies. Like you can like some of A New Hope and some of Empire Strikes Back, but Return of the Jedi, George Lucas had already sold out and was trying to sell teddy bears. You know, the whole metal bikini thing's lame. And so if a true Star Wars fan likes New Hope, except for he doesn't like the special edition stuff, and he likes Empire Strikes Back, except for he doesn't like the special edition stuff, and he hates everything else, and that's no way to be. I'm with Brandon on that. Star Wars is for the man, not man for Star Wars, and we should enjoy it. And I enjoyed the new one. I enjoy having nerdy conversations about it, and I think it's too bad that it's claptrap. But I support you, Brandon, in your let's not take Star Wars so seriously-ishness.
thank you.
But also, I'm a nerd that grew up with it, and I take it too. And I think taking it seriously is part of the fun. So that's the catch-22. But whatever. I don't know. I'm caught. I'm like Kylo Ren. I feel the tug of the dark and the light side.
Yeah, because you always have to go back to the debate. Does culture produce art, or does art produce culture? And then I do have sympathies for people who have real pastoral concerns. You know, when you see a movie like Star Wars and you think through its feminist propaganda that it has, and its propaganda that its liberal agendas that it has, obviously, you know, pro-Obamacare and all that stuff that's throughout the movie. So, of course, that stuff is real, and you have to deal with that. But
We're 40 minutes in. I'm calling it. This is a Star Wars episode of the
let's
Lookening.
just stay with it.
So, Jake, your thoughts?
so I mean, so you have to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just. I'm kind of taking the casual attitude here. I do understand kind of what's at stake with the argument. I'm just really tired. Because I think it's getting intertwined with each other, and it's really hard.
It's fun to like things, you know? People, it's like there's a whole subculture of nerddom that's just like the only enjoyment they get is in hating something and being better than it. It's like if you don't go into a Star Wars movie with your base assumption being that it would be better to like this movie than not to like it, then like we have a friend whose name we will not name, and there was no way he was going to like the movie because he's just comparing it to his childhood. Whatever.
And that's fair enough. I understand that point of view.
I think you're going to find, Brandon, that many things in life come down to point of view. I can't do the line. I don't know what the line is.
Who said
that? Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan in Return of the Jedi, I think.
The point of view. Yeah, whatever. I guess I don't know what I'm trying to say. You have any thoughts?
My thoughts are along the lines of, I mean, just like if we're talking big picture. We're talking big picture?
Yeah, sure.
My thoughts are along the lines of what Nathan's thoughts were at the top when I walked into the room, which Star Wars has always been better than its principles because it's just been about fathers and sons and chosen ones and good versus evil and a space opera Western type thing. To see Johnson come and think he's being creative by being iconoclastic and destroying all of that and giving us not an egalitarian but a feminist universe where everything's upside down, where we're used to seeing Han or whoever go on some crazy journey to do some crazy thing that may not work, and they pull it off and they save the day. Well, we're going to give you that, but instead they ruin the day. and got a bunch of people killed, and they should have just listened to the women. We're going to give you some sacrificial heroes, but they're all going to be women. And when you think we're finally going to give you a dude who's going to be a sacrificial hero, he's going to fall into the same trap that he fell into in the first episode when he kept trying to hold Rey's hand. He can't be the hero. He can't be the sacrificial hero. Rose has to pop through and save him from killing himself and spout off some garbage about how we don't win by destroying the things we hate, but by saving the things we love. Well, guess what? Sometimes you save the things you love by destroying the things
That's how we defeated Hitler, though, by saving the things that we loved. It was
Not destroying the things we hate.
like that George Clooney movie.
Love and hate go hand in hand. You hate the things that threaten what you love, and that's the way it is. The Bible teaches this pretty plainly. Do I not hate those that hate you is a prayer that David offers to God.
You're supposed to break the jaws of the wicked.
We're supposed to hate evil. We're supposed to hate sin. We're supposed to hate it in ourselves, and we're supposed to hate it in the world and in others. And that doesn't mean that we're to hate our enemy. We're to love our enemy and pray for those who persecute us. But I'm getting a little far afield. The point is, men will have their myths, or they'll rebel. The fact is, they're taking it all away, and they're taking it away from fathers and sons. And I think it's shooting themselves in the foot. Like, what little boy? Like, my kids don't care about the movies, and they don't care about Rey and stuff.
We asked
and they
your son who his favorite character was, and he said it was Chewbacca.
Right. Because there was nobody for him to grab on, nobody else for him to grab onto. So he just thought, I guess Chewie's kind of cool. Like, all the other characters get demoted and picked on, and they screw ups, and they quit, and they're lazy, and they're going to be hermits for 30 years, and they're afraid. And I guess, Chewbacca's a guy who's just there sort of along for the ride and trying to do the right thing. And he's got some funny stuff with porgs. Like, that's what they left my son, is Chewbacca and the porgs. Like,
my kids, their favorite characters, Jack's favorite was Finn, and Elliot's favorite was Poe.
Which makes sense.
I asked him why. Well, I buy what you're saying, but then at the end, there is the moment where it's more like Poe has to learn to tame his willingness to just go out and take unnecessary risks so he can actually be a leader. Because at the end, Leia does hand over the reins to him.
Yeah, but
there's no actual men characters. All the boy characters are all just, the Freudian slip. I said all the boy characters. All the male characters are boys who have to learn the lessons of boys, and there's actually
from their mothers.
Yeah,
and there's no actual father figure. And the one guy that was set up to be the father figure, that we're expecting to be the father figure, we subvert expectations in an interesting, cool way by finding out that he's just a mopey, just as mopey and emo and broken as us. And I reject that. I reject that in my myth. I don't want my heroes to be always as emo and broken and stupid as me. I don't want them to have to learn the same lessons.
I think Mark Hamill is 100% right in his criticism of the script and of the movie. He's had the quote, months ago, I fundamentally disagree with every choice you've made about this character, but then he's since been interviewed. I don't know if you saw this.
Yeah, I did.
Where he just says, Jedi don't quit. The whole thing about Luke was that he never, the only thing I knew about Luke's character in the movies was that he never quits. And he always is just always gonna go and try to save his friends and
he
do
might
the
make
right
stupid
thing.
decisions.
And he might
orders.
be foolish. He might be, but the one thing he's not gonna do is quit. And if he screws something up, he's gonna try to make it right. The idea that he could screw up this colossally and then quit is just fundamentally out of character. It just doesn't work.
And I think that you're right when you say they're shooting themselves in the foot. And I think they're actually shooting themselves in the foot commercially.
Yeah, exactly.
I think these movies are not going to be as resonant for people, and they are going. It will take years. I'm prophesying here decades out, but these movies will lose their place just through oversaturating the market with them, so that Star Wars, the last time Force, or what's this one that just came out? Last Jedi is the last time anyone's ever going to be excited for like a Star Wars trailer to drop, because now we're just used to it again, and there'll be one every year. But whatever, larger than that, there's nothing that ultimately resonates. The striking thing for me about that movie, and people say I'm just being a whiny nerd, but I don't want to see it again, and that's so weird. Like, I like Star Wars. I saw Rogue One twice, simply because Darth Vader walked down a hallway and did some cool Darth Vader stuff. But there's nothing particular. There's no particular burning need for me to see this movie again, because I don't know.
At the end of the day, it's bad storytelling, right? It's bad storytelling. Who cares?
I want to say it won't be as... There's no big thing to be solved in the next movie. We have an emo villain, a girl for a hero, and I guess they'll have a lightsaber duel, and one of them will die, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was the bad one. But that's not an interesting narrative problem for me to wonder how they're going to solve in the next movie, like Luke being the son of Darth Vader was for Empire, or like Anakin Skywalker slowly rotting inside was for those dumb prequels. The dumb prequels, every time the new dumb prequel came out, you'd be like, gee, I wonder how they're going to handle this part section of the story. But I just am not interested to know what they do. I mean, what does it matter? What does it matter what they do in the 9th one? There'll be some battle scenes, some cool special effects, there'll be some humor.
What they're not going to do is bring balance to the Force, right? There's not going to be... I mean, that would be the one interesting thing to do, is finally give us...
Unless they're going to go and tell backstories, which they're not going to do.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying, because that is why, besides just being campy, people have grabbed onto it and really like Star Wars in the same way a lot of things become campy and people really like that thing. I like the idea that it's become popular because it tapped into a myth. I like the idea of myth. Father and son, father saving son. Good and evil, good having to triumph over the evil. You don't see that here because it's more of a yin and yang sort of situation. I think you're the one who mentioned that before. So that's not something I've thought of. But, so if there's going to be a yin, there has to be a yang. And it's not necessarily because it's good and evil and good has to triumph, even though there's the hope that good will triumph. There is something hollow about these that is coming out with the second movie.
They put a yin yang on the floor of the Jedi Temple.
Really? I didn't see that.
There's some kind of seal on the floor, and it's a Jedi of some kind in like a meditation pose. And it's like it's yin and yang. It like one side is white, the other side is black, or one side's light, the other side's dark, and then there's like dots or something on either side.
And even though I think that the idea of balance and good and evil always coexisting was always in Star Wars.
Yeah.
There was the idea that good would triumph and good needed to triumph. So George Lucas accidentally borrowed from real, true myths, even though he was trying to do something different.
I think George Lucas was always better than his philosophy, and I think these...
So I see, I'm buying this point.
Yeah. And I buy your point that also it's just a fun, dumb movie to eat popcorn, and you can eat a lot of popcorn and enjoy it, and it's fine. I didn't actually eat popcorn. Metaphorically speaking, I did eat popcorn, and I did enjoy the movie.
I think without argument, this is the best stylistically. It's really pretty.
Yeah, it's
like that last scene on the planet with the salt and the red.
Yeah, it was
that was
cool.
Just breathtaking to watch.
Yeah, well,
that was pretty cool.
If you think about those Peter Jackson Hobbit movies, you don't really get the sense that you're standing in the elf hall. How much you don't just like feel the tactile dust in the air. How sort of, and it's not just a matter of bad CGI or good CGI or anything like that. It's just storytelling with the camera that makes you feel like you're in a time and you're in a place, makes you feel cold, makes you feel hot, makes you feel like there's metal or like there's trees or like there's salt or like there's sand. This movie was well done in that way. It felt so Star Wars. It reminded you of everything in your childhood, how you sort of felt like you were on a swamp planet with Yoda, how you felt like you were on a cold ice planet. It just gave you that sort of tactile Star Wars feeling. It was the sound design, it was the camera shots, it was the way scenes were set up.
Yeah.
It worked. It was good narrative filmmaking of a type that's hard to do. And I use the Hobbit examples just as an example of some. Peter Jackson's actually not, I would say, terrible at that kind of stuff, but he's not as good as this guy is.
So if we're going to come up with legitimate, but what's really worrisome about this line of reasoning is that if we go too far that way, we end up making this new movie out to be wicked, which it could very well be.
The new one?
Yeah.
I think it's a movie without any solid moral grounding.
Well, if it's a feminist worldview and it's turning everything upside down, and it's also espousing that the good doesn't triumph because the good shouldn't triumph, that there always needs to be just the good and the evil need to coexist. We need to understand that we live in the world and not have the rich overburdening the poor.
Right, yeah.
And realizing that everybody has equal access to this force if they can just tap into it. There's kind of a weird NPR-ish liberal agenda going on there that is just purely wicked.
Yeah, it is, but people can be mature about it and still enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
What I want to argue is that just makes for a worse and less resonant and less moving story, and that's where the punishment is. The punishment isn't that Christians can't go see and on some level enjoy the movie. The punishment is that there's not as much movie to enjoy. I wrote an article that got a lot of traction on the internet among nerds that hated me about the feminism of the first Star Wars movie, and a lot of people asked me after that, like, Nathan, are you going to go see the next Star Wars movie? It's like, yeah, of course. I like Star Wars. What's the big deal? It's not this all or nothing.
Yeah.
It's evil. You can't go see Star. That was never my point. My point was just let's think about this stuff in a mature adult way. Let's not assume because we like something and it makes us feel something that it's therefore good.
Yes. I was hoping you would say that, because that would kind of be my response to it, is that, are you really that surprised? Right? The agenda is coming out in a movie like this.
No, not
Are you
at all.
really that surprised at a world that has that Jenner? His
Caitlyn
name?
Jenner.
Bruce Jenner. We have a world that has him and has all the sort of wickedness that's going on with sex and gender and identity. And does it really surprise you that Star Wars would have it in it as well?
It only surprised me insofar as that they're in the business of making money, which means they're in the business of telling resonant stories.
But
which means they're in the business of telling stories that reflect the way that God made the world, because those actually will be more resonant and powerful. Surprise,
Yes.
surprise. So,
and that's why that's why Marvel is kind of doing it right,
yeah.
because they're tapping into that and they're making a lot of money. But Disney has been going this direction a long time with Frozen and with Moana and all these other things. So it was really not that surprising, because what they think is they'll make money now by grabbing onto the
cultural
the hip,
zeitgeist and
the hip zeitgeist that's going on.
Well, they
around
actually
them.
have the hubris to think that they'll change things.
They think they'll change things. They also think they'll be on the bandwagon that will eventually win,
Yeah.
and that they'll
They're on
be
the right
seen
side of
as
history.
they'll be seen as the kind of cultural representation of this moment.
And that, by the way, is why we will soon reach a day where you will have to make a very conscious moral decision about whether your children go see Star Wars, because it'll have a lesbian kiss or something.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if it was next movie. I know that's the crotchetiest old man thing for me to say, but just you wait, folks. I mean, it's got to be within another movie or
They
two.
gave you a lesbo bait in this one.
Yeah, and it was...
It wasn't meant, I mean, they'll never cop to it, but
No, they learned their lesson from Beauty and the Beast, where it's like it's better to just kind of... Well, Bill Condon...
they just gave an emotional scene between Leia and Holdo where they held hands and looked into each other's eyes, and there was nothing necessarily sexual in any way
Yeah, they
about
didn't
it.
pick up on anything. Yeah.
I don't care what you say it was. Two friends who respect each other, one who happened to have purple hair.
Well, also one who...
No, now that you say it, it makes perfect
One
sense. I
who's
just think
in
that's
Haldo is much more effeminate, traditional. Even with her purple hair, she's just kind of she's more girlish. And then Leia, who's this crusty old battle axe. Yeah, what other word could I have entered that sentence with than battle axe?
Yeah.
But I mean, they make kind of a classic lesbian pair. I don't know.
Interesting.
It was just bait, is all it was.
I buy it.
Right.
I'm not surprised. So
I just think that we'll have a lesbian. I think it's fascinating how much they go out of their way not to give you any kind of traditional. These kinds of movies from time immemorial have had the love story, and it's just that simple. I mean, you have Poe and whatever. It's the tension of who's going to end up with who is just like you put that in, and
Who's going to end up with Finn?
right,
Ray or Rose?
right. Oh no, Rose came on the picture. That complicates things. Like that's just supposed to be part of the fun of a movie like this, but they go out of their way. Again, it's like all the characters, especially the male characters in particular, just all feel like little boys who have to learn little boy lessons and have to learn how to be friends and play nice. Don't feel like men.
yeah, and
All of the men who were leaders before died.
were killed by their sons.
Akbar died. No, I mean the leaders of the resistance.
That's right. Akbar died
Akbar
unceremoniously in a corner.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were mad that he's not the one who flew the ship into the other ship.
Well, that would have made sense if they wanted to do something that would be a little bit more moving and resonant for Star Wars fans, but instead they wanted to have,
I don't know. We might have been calling it manipulative or something like that, just trying to cash in even more on the only place where they've been able to develop any emotional resonance.
Well, I will cop to being a bitter little nerd who probably would have complained. Brandon liked Star Wars, though. I liked it, too. We all liked Star Wars. Jake texted me after he watched it, and he said, I laughed, I cried, everything else. I mean,
I did.
I actually liked the casino scene, too, which makes me an outlier. But I keep giving people reasons to not take any of my opinions on this movie credibly whatsoever. But
Yeah.
I like the special editions. I like this casino scene. I thought the politics in the casino scene were incredibly stupid. Yeah, we gave the 1%ers what they deserved. Yeah.
Now let's go out and watch a horse race. I want to stay here. There's no urgency in what we're doing. It was just how much they drug it out and tried to make a moral point. If you could just give me the like flash through, if they could have cut it down and give me the flash through and show me the 200 new puppets and CGI people that they made.
I just like that aspect of it. It just reminded me of being a kid and watching the Star Wars movies and discovering a new planet. Every movie would have a couple new planets, and you'd be like, oh, what's this planet like? And you'd have a couple minutes of just looking around.
Yeah.
It was nice to have a new planet to discover, even if it was a 1920s casino Vegas
I don't think
planet.
there was anything wrong with the planet. I think it was more just that whole side story was unnecessary.
We've got to free these horses and...
Yeah. Go find the code breaker. That whole that side story.
Well, the fact that they went out of their way to make it like, it turns out Haldo had a plan and everything that they did was useless and
exactly
destructive.
Destructive.
They brought the guy,
and that was completely unconvincing. I thought one of the worst characters is Haldo, the purple-haired woman.
Laura Dern.
She was probably the worst character in the movie, I would say, simply because she was there just for the twist. And it didn't really work. Her character was flat.
Well, we've talked
didn't really feel sorry for her when
how we don't like it when, even when it's a point of view we agree with, we don't like it when they write a character or a situation that's obviously designed just to make a point and not designed to follow any kind of actual internal logic. And that's what Haldo felt like, is she was just there to act in the way that the plot required her, and then to act a different way, and then to act the third way as the script required in order to make their cutesy little point about how Poe the mansplainer actually needs to. Yeah, because she wasn't a character that you felt any sympathy for. It was a cool idea to fly the ship at light speed into another ship.
If she was such, I'm sorry, I'm just going to be a dork here and say the obvious thing. You're supposed to suspend your movie logic or whatever. But if she were an actual good commander, the kind of good commander that we were supposed to believe she was, she'd let people know what was going on. Yeah. Especially if she had any wisdom and knew that she had an impulsive dude in Poe Dameron, even if he was a little boy.
Well, if he's really that given to just disobeying orders and causing problems, then throw him in the brig, knock him out, do what you have to.
Right.
Or if he's useful and awesome and you secretly are like, Poe's got to be Poe, give him a job to do and make it an awesome job that will excite him. And, you've got this wild card guy with all his masculine energy, just channel it. There's lots of different ways as Haldo that you could successfully use Poe Dameron and or tamp Poe Dameron down. But the one thing you don't do is be like, oh, well, I've got a plan, but I'm not going to tell you because I don't like you. But you still have free access to all this stuff.
And then all of a sudden you like him and you're supposed to be the sacrificial hero of the movie. Yeah. It was bad writing.
Yeah. Bad writing that was in there mostly to make a point about egalitarianism and feminism and all that kind of stuff. And that's the thing, people always say...
It was, yeah.
People say, I'm going to eat my popcorn and I'm going to enjoy. I had a friend, a guy that I like on Facebook said, I knew the movie, Star Wars has always been egalitarian, feminist, whatever. I knew that's what it was going to be. I went in, that's what it was. I enjoyed it anyway. I guess I kind of get that. But on the other hand, that actually makes the story worse. It makes it less entertaining when it's not resonating with the truth of the universe as God built it. It's not as emotionally satisfying. It's not as moving. It's not as exciting. It's not as suspenseful. The characters don't feel as real and the situations don't feel as real, and it just doesn't work. I actually think that there is pragmatic storytelling value in being biblical.
Huh.
So first you should be biblical because you should be biblical and obey God. That would be the number one reason. But if you happen to be an artist who's telling stories, I think you'll tell. And if you happen to be someone who's telling stupid space operas, I think you'll tell better stupid space operas if you're writing the universe as God made it.
Yeah.
But Nathan, it's set a long time ago in a galaxy. Shut up.
Does anyone actually make that argument?
What?
It's set in our. It's a long time ago.
Yes.
The whole point is that it's not.
Oh,
the
right.
universe
Yeah, just
says-
shut up.
Obviously, we know that like women should, wives should obey their husbands in this universe, but and women are weaker. You know, the Bible says women are weaker. We know that's how it works here, but
That's not the point.
they have the Force there. It equalizes everything.
The point is what makes a story resonate for everybody, and that's if it's founded on the truths of Scripture. That's what you're saying, and the myths resonate because the myths are founded on the truth of Scripture. Fathers and sons resonate. Husbands and wives resonate. Saving the bride or the woman resonates because these are truths that are built into all of us. You know what would have been really awesome?
What's that?
If Spielberg had directed and written the original Star Wars, if they had been as good as Indiana Jones. Because I'm with you guys, and then I go back to the fact that we just watched Empire Strikes Back.
And
Can I say it?
Yeah, say it.
It's not good.
well, I don't really want to blow all my Star Wars credibility, but all those old movies are kind of lame when you watch them.
Yeah, they're. Am I wrong? They're poorly acted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not all that well written. So, but then it really resonates with people, and it's because that final scene where Darth Vader says, "Luke, I'm your father." That's amazing. It's great. And without a doubt, that's really a fantastic scene. And so it all builds up to that one moment. Kind of like, Fahrenheit 451 or something. It stumbles about, and you really wish it had come, like the Star Wars universe had become something big and better. And I think it's telling that probably the only movie from these new series that will last is the one that goes back and attaches itself to the old mythology, which is Rogue One. And in that one, you actually had real manly characters dying. I mean, it was sadder seeing that robot die in Rogue One than it was in watching any of the characters die in this new movie.
I think I shed more tears for the robot. Like
I kind of cried
Some
when
tears
the robot
actually
died.
came out of my eyelids for the stupid robot.
You had you felt the weight of Darth Vader's evil walking down that hallway. I mean, that was
a scary, awesome.
it was tempting.
Yeah.
You felt the draw of the dark side and why it's so powerful and strong. And so whoever directed that kind of got it. And I actually kind of think he improved on whatever it was that whatever it was good in the original Star Wars, which was the danger of the dark side, the good, and desperation of the good trying to fight the darkness.
I think A New Hope, for all of its cheesy, campy lameness, actually watches better after Rogue One. Like
there's
it does
a whole
real work to set up like the story and Vader and why everybody's terrified of him. And
I love the idea that there's people that the history books don't remember, and that a whole group of people died just to get R2-D2 his cute little MacGuffin that he's going to roll around with for the whole of A New Hope. I mean, I think that's a really fun idea.
Yeah.
Rogue One's an interesting movie, I think, because apart from the Star Wars, like if you just take it as a movie, it doesn't really work. It's kind of lame. Like if you just divorce it from Star Wars, but then you realize you can't divorce it from Star Wars. It brings the weight and the history of our feelings and our understanding about Star Wars, and therefore it's actually a really moving, powerful movie.
you could say that about a lot of Marvel movies, that they don't work, or they don't work nearly so well.
Except for in context. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's fine.
I mean, some of the best moments of Spider-Man Homecoming rely on and assume this huge emotional weight that has been built up in the character of Tony Stark over 15 million Marvel movies.
We literally spend 8 minutes with Tony Stark in this Spider-Man movie, but
his scenes matter because of how we've seen him grow in other movies.
Yeah. I'm sort of proud of Tony Stark. Like, oh, he's become a good father figure. Who would have thought? But there's nothing in Spider-Man Homecoming taken as its own thing that gives you that, really. It's in the context. And I had to get over that with Rogue One. Like, I just thought, this can't be a good movie, because if you actually think about it as a movie, it doesn't work. It doesn't tell you who Jyn Erso is or tell you why it matters. And I still think it has some problems, but I think it was unfair of me to try and imagine it from the point of view of someone. It's like, if someone just watched this without knowing what Star Wars was, this wouldn't be any better than like Aragon or something like that. But Aragon's this dumb thing, and
Is it that dragon book?
yeah, it's that dragon thing. It's just some random fan.
Well, I think Rogue One's better than that.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying. But that's fine for someone to set up a world and then tell stories within that world once that world is established. C.S. Lewis did it with the Chronicles of Narnia.
Sure, yeah.
And that's perfectly fine. You don't have to do a lot of the background storytelling and world building that the other ones did, because it assumes that you are familiar with the world and the mythology behind it.
That's actually a good way to talk about episode 8 and what I don't like about episode 8. It's doing the opposite thing. What I think it's doing is it's trading on our nostalgia and the resonance that we feel for Star Wars, for that music, for that look, for the sound of those
cashing in all
engines.
the chips.
It's cashing in those chips. Meanwhile, it's giving you this dumb, egalitarian, mordantly, awfully feminist story that's slapping you in the face, forever believing in the idea of heroes in the first place. You still kind of like it because it just has that Star Wars baggage attached to it, which reminds you of your, it's Star Wars. Why not? You can't. And I don't want to take that away from it. I think you do actually still kind of like it, and maybe you should. But that's why I think the franchise has limited lifespan, for me at least, for my interest.
I agree. I see what you're saying. What I've bought from this conversation is the fact that it's divorced itself from the mythology, and that's the most helpful thing I see.
And that matters.
Criticizing this movie because it matters, because the myth is what keeps something alive.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that's going to survive as a story has to be connected to either some, even though we're not going to get around to talking about it, the best book we read last year, Anna Karenina. What is it tapping into? Well, it's tapping into, man and woman, husband, wife, adultery, all these themes that are universal and that resonate with people, and judgment for sin, and hopefully reconciliation, repentance, and if not, then final judgment. Those things, they matter, and that's why next year Flannery O'Connor will matter and things like that. But this movie here is trying to give us what earlier I called the cheap NPR stuff.
Right.
And that stuff isn't going to last. That stuff's like dust. It burns up. It's going to be gone.
It has to be tapped into something that's real and that's resonant for people. How many times can I say resonant in this podcast?
I think we've said it quite a few times. I
don't know what other word you use.
I don't know if Jake has used it yet.
Jake, you want to use the word resonant in a sentence?
No, I think I'll try to. I don't know if I've said it or not, but I'm going to try to avoid saying it.
See if we can get him to say it. So, what it is like is as pretty as it looks, as stylistically nice as it looks. It's empty and hollow. A lot like Hemingway. To be honest, a lot like Dubliners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I wrong there? Or
Whereas
it's nice. There seems like there should be something to it. But when you actually figure out what there is to it, it's not that nice.
Whereas the original movies are kind of cheesy and they can be a little purple and silly, but they're tapped into something real. Much like Something Wicked This Way Comes was this year.
Yeah.
Could be a little silly sometimes, with story of a fathers and sons, good and evil.
And in the end, I mean, sorry, Star Wars fans, but Something Wicked This Way Comes is better.
Yeah.
So
it's much better.
But Star Wars is still fine.
Right.
But
So, The Last Jedi, can I do my microcosm thing?
Sure. I don't know what that is, but
Yeah, you do.
I'm sure I'll know it once I get it. I don't know it by its title.
The Last Jedi in a microcosm represented by one scene from the film.
Oh, I know what
Luke
that scene is.
thinks he wants to destroy all of the mythos, all of the lore, all of everything around the Jedi, and he doesn't really want to do it. He wants something creative and new, and he thinks it all should die, but he doesn't. So he's going to go and he's going to light the tree on fire, and then he can't do it, and then Puppet Ghost Yoda shows up and gleefully, mockingly blows it all to smithereens in a lightning storm and laughs at Luke while he sits there mourning the loss of the mythology and the lore.
wow, that's kind of dark.
That's what they did.
Puppet,
Yeah.
That's what they did. That's what they did.
Do it. Puppet Luke is Ryan Johnson and the Kathleen Kennedy Brain Trust. Just
Puppet Yoda.
Puppet Luke.
Burn
Well,
it.
it is Puppet Luke. It's not my Luke. It's just
It's not even Mark Hamill's Luke.
No, it's just Puppet Luke.
But the women are going to steal the mythos away. They
they're
stole
not.
it away.
There's a real hollowness to that, and there's a reason that, as sparkling a little moment as it had, Wonder Woman really hasn't really resonated with anyone. And the Amazonian myths never really resonated with anyone. It was more like kind of this monstrous shadow thing that happened. But the real hero was Hercules, and these guys that had to deal with the Amazonians. They were the monsters on the sides because they were unusual and weird. In those parts of myths, they can be a part of myth, but they stay where they're going to be on the sides and make way for the manly hero.
Yep.
So sorry, feminists.
Wonder Woman, the hero, was fine.
But nobody cares. There's a reason. She ruined the Justice League, right? Isn't she the bad part about it all?
I thought she was pretty terrible in Justice League. I've not seen Wonder Woman still. I've held my guns on that one, but
I've heard that. That's what I'm saying is that movie, for as much as everybody, she was trying to be Athena. I think somebody made that point.
that's what Jake said. Yeah.
Yeah.
She had one fun scene in.
But even
the Justice League.
Athena, as God, literally godlike as she was,
No,
She
she's
exists to
help out her man.
Help out
and
Odysseus.
Achilles. Yeah, they're the real heroes. Mm-hmm. So you just can't get away from it. And feminism will not win. They're not going to change the cultural mindset. They might do it briefly, but then guess what? We'll all become licentious and full of lust, and we'll eat ourselves and literally devour ourselves to death, like Augustine says in City of God. Mm-hmm. Everything will collapse. It'll go back to dust. Our libraries will burn. And then we'll have men heroes rise up like Beowulf. We'll write legends and myths about them so that they can establish cities with economies that are strong enough for us to have children who eventually forget and begin to marry the same sex and have debauched cultures again that will then arise up and burn and collapse and fall and just...
So the cycle repeats itself. Yin and yang, dark and light.
Wow. But then it'll all have its end.
Yeah. I'm not ashamed to say it. With the King of Kings.
Yep.
Who's a man.
The final victory.
I mean, feminism loses because it's false and it's not true.
And because it will lose.
Feminism loses because Jesus wins.
That's right. It loses. So there you go, Ryan Johnson.
Yeah. You lose, Ryan Johnson.
You lose.
And no one will remember your stupid movie.
But it was really fun to watch.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it.
I laughed. I cried.
All right. Well, this has been a great year in review. Hey, everybody, quick programming note. First of all, you should probably know that the Bookening was written and produced by Nathan Alberson, performed by the Brandon Chastain, the Jake Menzel, the Nathan Alberson. Quick programming note. We still want to do our year in review. Somehow we ended up spending 90 minutes or whatever that was talking about Star Wars there. We said our Star Wars theories, and it was a good time was had by all. However, we actually ran out of time. Brandon had to go on Christmas vacation. And we didn't get a chance to do our year in review, our redux. So we're going to do that. But what we're going to do, because we're going to really switch things up on you, we're going to do the next couple of weeks, we're going to do our first book of 2018 till we have Faces Part 1, till we have Faces Part 2. Then we're going to come back. We're going to do year in review. We're going to round out January like that. Then we'll go into February, Jane Austen month, the great Jane Austen. We'll talk about her. And then we'll be off, Ready Player One and so forth, doing our Bookening thing. But year in review's coming a little bit late. So hope you enjoyed this Yuletide Star Wars discussion, or as the episode will be titled, Merry Christmas, parenthesis, Star Wars is over, close parenthesis. A John Lennon joke, I guess. The most elaborate pun in the history of Bookening puns.
Man.
Hey, thanks for listening, everybody. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Brandon.
Happy New Year, Nathan.
Happy New Year, Jake.
Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas. Many fine Star Wars movies in your life to come, I hope. Many fine Star Wars movies to you, Brandon.
You too, Nathan.
And may the Force be with us all in 2018.
Everyone.
May the Force be with us all.
Everyone.